I was told so many stories, and I kept them in my stomach. Lies the truth, fake smiles of blood money. I lost cause at a loss for words, trying to keep my tone down. What I'm saying's absurd, unusual, the context unique, buried in the depths of metaphorical speech. A hidden message, pull the infinite strings, reconnect the ends and pretend to justify the means. Parallel, we're reading the same page, turn days into literature simple as loose change. It was perfect, or at least that's what I'm told. Courage is dead, spending my life fearing the cold. I was useless, feeling like dead weight, plain as day. Introducing when handshakes. Originality was spread across the board. Intricate self-worth, I'm searching for more. I swear rain doesn't fall on my fields. It takes a drought to avoid all the secrets that I concealed. Hidden within the dust-covered land behind the city. The street lights are dim and the fog is always walking with me. It's nothing new, my eyes adjusted to the scene. Flickering on and off, it's just the daily routine. I grab a hold of time, forcing not to leave. The weeds grow sporadic and my home is where I'm quarantined. Thinking less, move the top to where the fuel rests. Giving all I got to breathe life to the common sense. Moving the top to where the fuel rests. Giving all I got to breathe life to your silhouette. Question is, do we take or deflect? It seems heavy, but when I rolled my hands was steady. The whites of his eyes seen from the paper till I was ready. Frustration became more common than being calm and outcast. Walked in the motion of every song till it fades. I washed away the shades of color, peeled back the winter, bringing light to my summer. I spent the longest time trying to decide on who to be. My destiny manifests, my mind's in the open sea. See, I feel better when I'm alone. Escape my own past and creation of time zones. I flipped, see my eyes focus on every trip. Reaching for the sky becomes harder with every hit till it clears. The smoke settles on all my fears. Rain drops and covers the remains of every tear that I flip. See my eyes focus on every trip. Reaching for the sky becomes harder with every hit.
Right, let's get on with it. Right, so as you can see, I've got a new belt sander. That's going to be an enormous help, so I need to say thank you very much indeed to our friend Tim. Tim's a very close friend of ours from the forum and past and long ago. He's known Tim for a long time, and through one reason or another decided he would send us a gift of a fantastic Clark woodwork sander. Now, there will be many questions, why buy a woodwork sander? Well, I'll come to it another time, to be honest. You can use them for metal. It's more about the belts and the sanding mediums on them than it is about the machine. There are issues, such as if you get metal filings in the motor of those things, it can cause issues, but like all motors, like the grinder, the drill, anything you use, if you get a build-up of metal filings inside them, then it can cause issues with arcing and sparking. So if you clean them out every now and again with an airline through the vents and clean the motor out, it is not an issue. I've used one before many times, and really it's not an issue. Like I said, as soon as those belts wear out on that sander, I will put metal belts on there, which will make it all the different. It'll be a fantastic tool. It really will help making things. You know how much I spend time with the lapper and the disc. With a belt sander, certainly with the flat table, you can make accurate and precise grinds on it. You can do things like knife grinding, all that sort of stuff, which really does help. So that's going to be a great help. So Tim, thank you so much, my friend. You are an absolute gentleman. I'll see you again very soon. Right, so today I want to get on with this. Now, obviously, let's just bring you a bit, hang on. Right, now a lot of you gave your opinions at plenty and mentioned that this looks just a bit too much like a tank still, which it does. Obviously I can't afford to lose this profile here. It's this side profile and the roundness at the front that I wanted the most. The rest I can deal with. Yes, the tail will narrow in. I am going to narrow the tail, and I'm going to start on that as the first task today. There's a couple of things I need to do before I can get involved in that, such as the frame underneath. Well, it's too wide. I need to actually bring the frame in order to bring the panel in, so let's do that today. So start on that section. But this, honestly, many of you gave your opinions. Many of you said great long paragraphs. What you could do is this and do that and lift this and lift that and twist it here and lift it there. I understand your your engagement with this, and I really appreciate that, and I have no problem at all with you sending those opinions, but I don't want you to go wasting too much of your consideration at this early point, because really this was just a throw on. I just cut it up, sliced it in half, threw it on and stuck it in place with masking tape. This is not how it's going to look. This is not finished, not by a million years. It's nothing to look. It will look totally different to this. Plus there's the section in the center between that and the tank, which will form all part of it. Now I do have a Sportster tank on the way, managed to find one. An extremely kindly viewer said that he had one going asking, and it's on its way. So we've got a Sportster tank coming, and I will use parts of that to create parts of the top. I'm also loving the idea of the wire frame that I used on this to make shapes that are unique, and I can do that to mirror that and bring it all into one. So I will do both the tank and some wire stuff. So I really, honestly, this will be cool. Now the other issue is it's a little too big if I make it any bigger. Does that make any sense, does it? Okay, it's as big as it can be now. That's as wide as it can possibly be. Doesn't want to be any wider than that, because the tank is the same width, so that's correct. The tail will come in, yes. A few of you mentioned cutting the side out and flipping it inwards and then re-welding it, which is the Indian Larry style thing. I think it was him that first. If you don't know who Indian Larry is, then just Google him. He's a legend of custom bike building, sadly passed away now. And he, I think, was the first person to pioneer the concept of cutting the side out of a tank, flipping that piece of metal so it was concave, and then re-welding it in. I don't think it will match. Many of you said that's the right way to go, but remember that these cutouts here, these concave shapes here, they're open at the front and back. They're actually a swage all the way through, and that goes for the belly pan as well. They don't have a dimple at the front and the back, and if you flip that, you're going to get just literally a dimple, and that dimple won't match this kind of open track. So I've got some concept going on in my head and thinking of how I'm going to do it, but honestly, one step at a time. I've said this many times, you need to break any project down into micro projects and do each piece at a time. So today I'm not going to do a great deal to this because the frame underneath needs some attention first. So the first thing is to get this off, and I'll show you what I mean underneath. I'll show you why I can't immediately just go bringing it in and welding it down the middle. That would be nice, but it simply won't work, this frame in the way. So let me show you. I'll bring you in to me. Okay, as you can probably see underneath here, hopefully in the light, as you can see, if I cover that bit, that will light up. In there it is, just appeared. In there, that is the ECU effectively, and that has to live somewhere very solid, very secure, and it's bolted to the frame. These frame rails also are this width. They really won't come in a great deal more. If I go remember, this has got to be lifted off upwards, so I've got to be able to take the whole panel and lift it up to get it off the bike for servicing, whatever. And you see this line here, I don't want to cut that line back anymore because I'll lose this nice curve. That curve has to remain, and yet if you can see, that frame very much follows that line. Much as there's space in here, I can't really bring them in more than about an inch, and I want to come in a little bit more than that. So what I've got to do today is, today's little task is to take that off, that ECU in there, remove it from its mounts, which are up here. They're rubber mounts, and I'm conscious of the fact that they're rubber mounts. I'm going to have to mirror that, and I'm going to put it up here somewhere so it's solidly mounted, well, so it's securely mounted but not solid. That's a very important thing. I'll show you that in a sec. And then when I've got that remounted, I've got to cut these and then bend them in and then weld the cuts up so that they're secure. And then when that tail frame is a bit narrower, then I consider taking the panel in. So let's get this off and show what I mean. See in a minute why this doesn't come off. I really didn't want to split the two halves. I wanted to keep them together, but I might have to do that. Right, bugger. I have to take the tape off. Oh well, it's annoying. Right, that's done. Right, there we are. as she is with her clothes off. Right, now you see I've just taped a couple of sockets on here to give me the desired height. That was just temporary stuff. It's given me the height that I need, and I'll be making some little, just some little spacers, because there is, you can see there's a thread there, and that thread gives me the opportunity to put a bolt in or something that's that height, that then will give me the maximum height to rest the tailpiece on and bolt down to. So I'll come to that again. This is the thing that was, whoops, sorry, around there, it's better. This is the thing I'm talking about. This has to be like that. It has to be free from shock, isolated from shock. This is more of these isolastic donuts, which are just about connecting everything, belly pan and all that. And that's, as that stands, it's got to be moved up to here, so I can get it away from the side, because I want to be able to lift that panel straight off and straight back on. And these things that are on the side are stopping that. There's also a little frame lug on that side there, which has got to come off. That's what was stopping the left side. I don't need that, it doesn't do anything. I won't be using it for anything, so that's going to get locked off in a sec. And then get into moving this. That's a task in its own right. I can't just solidly bolt that straight to there. It'd be very nice, but it needs isolastically mounting. So it's like that, because it's delicate electricery, and it requires that kind of mounting. If it has that kind of mounting from the factory, it requires that now. When you custom stuff, you've got to think of the future. I don't want that buggering up, because they're silly expensive. All right, so let's get the cutter out, lock that one off, and then unbolt that and see where I go with this.
Master of the sun, memories falling on concrete, leaving no behind. Now you swear to be my enemy, victim of your cards. I'm running in the dark, I venture into nothing. Gone into the night, won't you come and hold my hand?
This is what was bolted there. This is the old seat lock bracket, dum-de-dum. That's the lock that the front seat snapped down into, and that's the hook into which the rear seat hooked. And that bolts, that's what was bolted onto there. So that bolts very nicely, very securely onto there, and it presents this slanted front with kind of an area there and an area there, which kind of, I might be able to cut that up. I'm certainly going to have to cut a little bit of this up and chop out a way to mount that. I could, just thinking processes, you're seeing them live, well, as live as YouTube is, that could mount directly onto there, get these hooks out of the way. Yeah, nice. And then I can drill these out and put the isolastic bushes through these holes. So I can mount that isolastically, cut all this garbage off the bottom that I don't need, and mount it on there. So before anything, I can't really, because there's stuff in the way, I can't really offer that up properly. So the next task is take that lock off. Right, shut up, cut up.
Master of the sun, master of the sun. Sun, memories falling on concrete, leaving you behind, king of silence in this reverie.
Right, because it's going to be isoelastically mounted, I've got a bore through there to make the holes big enough to put the bushes in. Then I've got to drill that, and I'm going to leave these pieces on rather than just cut them off, because they will brace against the back of the ECU and hold it. And I'll probably, when I finally fit everything together, I'll probably put a little piece of foam just on the back, or some rubber. Inner tube rubber's good for that. I always use that sort of thing. And that little piece of inner tube rubber will just give that extra little bit of shock absorption. Shock absorption. But that will go there really. That's it. Fits nicely straight onto that bracket. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Love it when a plan comes together. Right, bore them big holes out and then drill some holes in there, and then I'll just be able to fit nuts on the back. Ta-da! Let's go. That's a nice little mount point. I can pop, hang on, a bit. I can pop a ruler across there now, and that gives me the back point. That's these 2 points here are where the seat base is going to mount to. I'll put some big thick washers in there with captive nuts underneath, which then I can bolt the seat frame down to, and effectively my weight can go on it without any issues. And that gives me a nice space, so I know that it's not encroaching upon that. That's far back enough, but it gives me enough clearance here so that I can have something up underneath here, lights, whatever I need to, and there's plenty of space. And that is nicely mounted. It's got the isoelastic bushes in place. They all work, they're all doing their job of isolating the vibration of the tail, you know, suspension bashing up and down, that sort of thing. All these fasteners and plugs go in nicely. When you do this, I mean, these things, talking earlier on as I was about factory fit, these things here, they're on a little daft, let's get it out of share. That's all they're on from factory. Just like a little plastic thing with a sticky pad on the back. I mean, that's a bit shit really, isn't it? Come on, Kawasaki. That's how it is. You know, factory stuff is often not that profoundly built. It's usually just kind of slung together. To me, that is very much slung together. It's not a nice way to do it. It's on a rubber mount though. Again, it's a relay, so it has to have a rubber mount. It has to be, you know, but it has got the rubber mount, but it didn't need to be on a sticky pad. So I'll think of something a bit better than that when the time comes. This is where the time consuming stuff comes. When that's done, that wants mounting. I mean, there you go, like that. I could drill right through there, little piece of metal with a little metal spade, and just hook it on. Jobs are good. You know, that's ever so easy to do that. and you've got then a nice little relay rubber mounted onto a metal post. This one here doesn't go down onto its spade. There's a little spade there. That one doesn't go on because this wiring loom's a bit tight. All I've got to do is reach under, express a little bit of the loom, just pull it out, relocate slightly. When I say pull it, I don't mean you just yank on it. You find a point where it's there's a little bit of slack, and you feed that slack through carefully. You know what you're doing, you know what I mean? And effectively make that little bit of room. I just need a bit of an angle, then I can plug that in, and everything's square. Nothing nicer than when you take the tailpiece off, or you lift the seat off on a custom bike, and everything underneath there is nice and neat and square and well mounted and well situated, and has nice spaces between it all. Nothing's all clipped in, bunched in and shoved in a hole. That just looks horrible. It just depresses me, and it's not a nice way to build bikes. It does take a lot more time. This has been I came in here at 9:30. It's 1 o'clock in a minute. You know, it's a long old time just to make a sodding bracket. Right, dry built the bracket, going to take it off, stop waffling, paint it, put it on, then I can forget that. Drying so that I can turn it over and just blow that paint over it. Just put that there out of the way. Been doing a little bit of something else. Right, I just want to show you this. Let's bring the old through. Take that charge lead out. Bang. Okay. Now this, so this is where the bracket's going to mount. Cool. And these sections here are where I'm going to mount the strength. I'm going to take that as the strength point for the tail. So as the tail comes up, I'm going to mount that literally standing on there. Now I think, as you saw, if you've been watching since the beginning, I had those on there taped on, and that gave me the height that I want. I tried different sizes of sockets till I got to what I wanted, which was that size. So what I'm going to do, my fantastically good mate Mr. Dyson is going to lathe turn up for me some spacers for here, and what that will involve is, right, quite simply, I intend to bolt down onto there. So what I need is, and what I'm going to get Dave to make for me, because he's got a lathe, is to have a thread at the bottom, then a piece of bar, and then a female hole and a thread in the top, so that when I bolt, when you get the tail piece like this, I can bolt down onto it just with some dome caps, and that will be very much like under here. All you'll see is like that, just a dome cap. So when the tail sits there, in whatever shape it ends up, it'll bolt down here and here, and probably some side, I don't know, some other ones in the side, but it will certainly bolt into that one and that one. So you just start with a piece of bar, you turn a little spike on the end of it, 7mm spike, and then you cut a 6mm thread onto that so it screws in, and then I've got, for my sins, a piece of bar sticking up from there, screwed in nicely to that, and then on top of that piece of bar there'll be a hole and a thread. I can drill through the panel. Where is it? I'll put it, there it is. Drill through the panel, those will get welded up, and then bolt straight down to it. There is a but, and the problem is, you can see, now if I'm going to bolt down to that, look at the strength of what you're bolting down to. It's a piece of 2mm thick, aluminium sheet, and I've already straightened that one up with the pliers because it was a little tiny bit cockeyed. These have got, like I said, those the threads in that you press in, name escapes me again, but so I'm going to bolt down to those, and instead of allowing them to bend, when it's bolted on, I don't want anything to bend. I could bolt them straight into there, I suppose. That's just as easy, really. However, I like that thread because it's good and solid, and as much as I've threaded that, where are we, can you see? Yeah, there we are, I've threaded that. It's not going to be anywhere near as beef as that thread, which is about 8mm long. So that's definitely the choice. So what I've done to give myself some strength for this is made a little plate. While that paint was drying, I made this little plate. This little plate has got a little recessed hole there and an access hole, and that sits on there, and it gives me a mount point. So I'll just bolt that down. It will get a little bit of bonding sealant, because this is aluminium, this is steel, and there's no point in faffing around welding it. There's no need. I can just put a little bit of panel bond sealant, the stuff that I use for all this other stuff, on there, and then bolt that down tight forever. And then what I'll have there is access to that hole, just to bolt down the piece of bar and on a nice piece of strength on there without having to bolt too forward. And the reason I want to bring these back rather than bolt straight down to the top is the curvature. Where this is, when it's on the bike in that position, where they currently are, if I bolted straight down through the top of the post, it would go kind of here at an angle, and that would be quite difficult to bolt into. So I can come back here with the mount tab and bolt straight down. I'll weld a piece of steel into that, nice thick piece in fact, probably 2mm, and that will give some strength. I can bolt straight down to it with a flat surface. So that's the point. As this comes forward, by the time you get to here, it's curving, and as that curves down, that's not going to be a good point to bolt into. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, I'm going to make another one of those. That is beef. Show you how I did it. That's a bit from the old trailer. That's where I got it from. A bit of scrap. Gives me a template, just got to cut that out with Faxor. in the detail, eh? This has taken 6 hours today, 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock when I finished working. Done a bit of clearing up as well, don't count that. And 6 hours to make 3 brackets. That's absolutely amazing, but they needed to be done. It's one of those things, I want to get into this tail. You can't just do it. I can't just make that panel and put it on and then move on. Stuff doesn't happen by magic when you're making your own project. You realise every single nut, bolt, bits and pieces have to be done by your 2 hands, and it takes time and effort, consideration, and sometimes it's tedious. It really is. If you're going to do a project yourself, if any of you who keep saying that you inspired me to build a bike, I'm going to crack on next year and get a donor, great, I really appreciate it, great, but look at all the adverts that say unfinished project, all the major work done, just needs finishing. That's when people have got the major stuff done, like we've done here, and then they realise that things like that, 6 hours making brackets, they just haven't got the patience. They lose interest in it. They just want to go and ride it. They can't do that. It's a long way for us. Sorry. They've got loads of money tied up in it, thousands of pounds sitting there on the bench in bits and pieces, and they decide to bug out. And that's when you can go and buy an unfinished project. So if you're going to do that, realise that what you're buying is a bike that needs all the detailed hard work done, like today. Messing about with bits of metal and brackets. I love doing this stuff. I absolutely live for it, but some people don't like it. It's boring and tedious, and they haven't got the patience for it. If you're going to build a bike, you do need patience. Patience and a dogged determination to get it done no matter what it takes. As far as this is concerned, that's done. I love that bracket. I'm absolutely chuffed with that. I'm proud of it, and I would be happy and proud to present that to anybody looking on to say that's my solution for relocating the ECU to a safe place that actually looks really smart. It's factory mounted on factory brackets. They've just been a bit modified and repainted, and that to me is a really cool way to do it, and a very simple way to do it if you're going to do it yourself. Now it frees up this side here and this side here. It means that I can move the tail in. Lots of you said you want the tail pointed. So let me rephrase that. Lots of you said the tail would look better pointed, and I want it pointed. I'm going to bring the tail in, probably about 2 inches, to close that square gap that's in the middle completely. I want the tail to be probably about as wide as the headlight French hole. Same width each end. That'd be quite cool, nice and symmetrical, which means bringing these frame horns here in. These 2 rails at the back are currently 3 inches too wide. I can bring the panels in, which is okay, but they kind of hit against here by about 1 inch each side. So I need to just slice these on the inside with the disc and just bring them together and then re-weld them back down. And being alley, that means getting the TIG out, so that'll be the next video. 6 hours is enough for this one. Those brackets there, these ones on top, I think I explained I need to make some little metal blocks out of some hex bar and get Mr. Dyson to turn those up on a lathe for me. And they'll just sit there and they'll be adjustable on a thread. So I can adjust them up and down to the relevant height, and they'll produce, let me show you, you've seen these, in the top of them, I'll bolt one of them. And that, as you can see, that's got the little slot in the back there that goes through a piece of sheet metal. So on the top, put a piece of sheet metal in the top, like a welded washer that steps above another washer. So there's a gap between the 2 washers. You slip that in between, and then you've got a rubber stopper, like a rubber mount. Boom. And that's how your tank's mounted as well. That's exactly how your petrol tank is mounted, and you put a bolt down through the centre, straight into the top. And then when we put the tail panel on, it will sit on rubber mounts, but it will be bolted solidly at the same time. Well, it will be bolted down, but rubber mounted. So the tail has to be rubber mounted, just like the belly pan was, and that's what we're going to use for that. So there's some more, because that's the only one, because the other one was perished. So there we go. 6 hours. Honestly, I'm not going to do any more today. I'm going to call that done. I'm going to wish you all the best of luck if you're going in for the prize draw tomorrow. It's the second of the 4 FS365 prize draws, a year's supply of FS365, keep your motorcycle in tip-top condition. That will be drawn tomorrow at the time of this. It's Saturday now. This is literally, I'm doing this, it is 3:30 now on Saturday afternoon, so by the time you're watching this video, it won't go online till 10, 11 o'clock tonight, by the time I've done all the post-production. But tomorrow we're back in the garage and we'll do the prize draw. So good luck if you entered. If you haven't, then we'll give you the question again tomorrow so you can re-enter for the 3rd week. I'm going to call that done. I'll leave you with a wall of friends. Take it easy, ride safe. Good luck for tomorrow. See you next time.